2016. The industrial wasteland that was Malcolm Turnbull's broken Australia had finally fallen. The war was over. Victorious was the state's new leader, a true woman of the people, a stronger voice for real families, and the hope of underdogs and angry gays. Chairman Harmo, or Heavenly Leader as her people called her lovingly, rose from the dust of the failed nation-state to create broad prosperity and happiness for her people. Chairman Harmo's ideas would be the guiding principles for the new state, her own activities its cultural heritage, and her vision its driving hope. Wearing her iconic hair in braids, pinned neatly across the crest of her head, she swiftly implemented much-needed reforms. Following her own personal ideology, she banned the distribution and consumption of all sparkling wines, except for champagne. Speaking at the first Democratic People's Congress, she told the adoring crowds, "No civilian of this state will be seen with a subpar beverage again. Let us all drink champagne." Following mass celebrations across the nation at Chairman Harmo's bold vision, the people took to the streets to burn all leftover Prosecco bottles. The dear leader then decried heterosexual normativity, acknowledging the gay community as the true leaders of her new socialist paradise. The heteros, who realized their privileged position, bowed down to the gays as they ran through the streets to claim their new majority position bestowed to them by the generous Chairman Harmo. The new nation-state continued to prosper, and the populace knew a happiness and a harmony they had never felt before. However, Chairman Harmo had some grave concerns. Malcolm Turnbull and the previous leaders of the unfair Australia encouraged an ignorance within the populace over the effects of climate change and its repercussions for the ecology of the nation. She could see that because they chose to ignore this environmental threat, that parts of her nation were suffering. After one day and one night of ruminating over this dilemma, Chairman Harmo gathered round the best, the brightest, and the most Baban minds in the nation to create her new ministry. She then got her newly elected Minister for Foreign Affairs, aka Comrade Carrie Habibi, to call her buddies at the Chairman Harmo consulate in Chengdu, China, and organize a state visit. By the grace of Chairman Harmo, they travelled to China. The country is a natural ally for her new state and also suffers with its own unique climate change issues. They set off, brave ambassadors, to find out the facts and build strong friendships between the two nation-states. The mission focused on how China has been dealing with its environmental challenges. They were particularly interested in the unique environmental challenges that face such a vast and highly populated nation-state. The delegates were intrigued to discover what steps are being taken to ensure an environmentally sustainable future. One of the major environmental challenges facing China, and of course the entire globe, is climate change. China is the highest global emitter of greenhouse gases, emitting 25.36% of global emissions. Recently, China has shifted its international and domestic policy on greenhouse gas mitigation. As the group saw and discussed on their trip, air pollution is a significant problem. This has been a catalyst for the population to demand action on the reduction of GHG emissions. China sets out its development policy in 5-year plans. As a result of domestic pressures, the 12th Five-Year Plan for 2011 to 2015 proposed a more positive environmental policy than previous years. They proposed to move towards an ecological civilization, which includes policies for the reduction of GHG emissions, the development of renewable energy solutions, and the increase of forest density. This promising domestic policy shift was echoed at the 21st Conference of the Parties in Paris in late 2015. China submitted emissions intensity reduction targets of 40 to 45% by 2020. This is further backed up by the US-China joint announcement on climate change, where China stated that it intends to achieve the peaking of CO2 emissions around 2030 and to make best efforts to peak early, and intends to increase the share of non-fossil fuels in primary energy consumption to around 20% by 2030. The group's experiences in China suggested that significant shifts have been made at the policy level regarding action on climate change. However, during a number of engagements and informal discussions, they discovered that there were significant difficulties implementing climate-related policies at the provincial and municipal level. For example, the carbon caps differ across provinces. This has, in some cases, driven dirty industry out of stricter provinces to less stricter regional provinces, having the effect of simply shifting the geography of GHG's emissions as opposed to effectively reducing them. Chairman Harmo and her loyal ministers visited the Nature Conservancy, which was founded in 1951. The Conservancy is a science-based non-conflict NGO that uses its standing to work with local governments. The TNC operates in 69 countries. They employ roughly 600 scientists. Within China, this NGO has 5 major focus areas, including land protection, clean water, climate change, ocean protection, and they also run urban campaigns to protect endangered animal rights. Their actions on climate change include the promotion of carbon sinks, mainly through reforestation, projects to ensure ecosystems can adapt to climate change, and policy guiding activities aimed at advising the government on how to manage climate change. Historically, they have had a great success engaging and working with the Chinese government. However, the new NGO laws introduced earlier this year have affected the ability of the Nature Conservancy to engage in fundraising in China and restricts the areas upon which the TNC can advocate and comment on. Despite these setbacks, the Nature Conservancy was a great example of the ways international and local people have successfully advocated for and brought about positive environmental outcomes in China. The diplomatic envoy of Chairman Harmo particularly enjoyed engaging with the employees and volunteers of the TNC to discuss common environmental problems and solutions for the future. Chairman Harmo is particularly interested in how climate change and other environment issues are being tackled at the local level. As such, the diplomatic envoy took special care to include local farm visits in the trip. In Beijing, they visited a small permaculture farm run by an American PhD student. This student was working at the local level to promote sustainable climate-conscious farming practices. He spoke of having some difficulty executing his permaculture practices because of the difficulties ensuring his staff were committed and aware of the principles of permaculture. It was interesting to observe the difficulties presented by language and cultural barriers when it came to running a permaculture farm in a place where farming practices are very different and permaculture remains a relatively new concept. In Chongqing, the Harmo group visited a small organic farm outside the city. This was organized by the local municipal government, who have introduced policies to promote organic farming to reduce pollution from chemical agricultural activity. The farm was very small-scale growing and cultivating mostly plums, mulberries, corn, ducks, and fish. The farmer expressed that a huge challenge for him was backing up his strong passion and skills for organic farming with a successful and profitable business plan. He noted that this may be because demand for organic food products is not high in China, meaning he was unable to charge more for his organic produce. Another area China is tackling the effects of climate change is through effectively managing their waste. At the request of Chairman Harmo, the ministry paid a visit to a waste management plant outside of Chongqing, where they were greeted enthusiastically by the staff and were offered a guided tour of the plant's facilities, which allowed the chairman and her ministry to truly appreciate the importance of managing and recycling waste. The chairman was so impressed by the efficiency of the plant and its ability to convert piles of garbage into reusable material that she immediately commissioned plans to build 100 waste management plants for her people. At the request of Chairman Harmo, the group also engaged in local cultural activities. They made friends with local dignitaries such as the Honourable Fong Guo, now a lifelong friend of the chairman's. They visited the local universities, meeting with students such as Anne, who then attempted to charge them for her time. They also hit the clubs. After being told not to go there for fear of robbery and death by the local guides, Chairman Harmo charged ahead to see the freshest aspects of China's party scene. Not one of her ministers was robbed or died. However, the Minister for Foreign Affairs, aka Kari Habibi, did show off his white boy dance moves.